2023 is coming to a close. 2024 is a bright new horizon in front of us. So we're going through a checklist to consider things as we're approaching 2024.
So as John mentioned, today we're going to be considering some items that you might want to add to your checklist for 2024 to review, revise, or just straight up add if you haven't done them before. I'm gonna kick it off and I'm gonna start with protection. And what that means specifically that we're gonna be talking about today is insurance. Life insurance, home insurance, and car insurance really are the big ones that we look at when we're evaluating insurance policies. Just to start it off, if you got a 15% increase in your premiums, it's not uncommon. A lot of people are having 15 to 20% increases in premiums. We're seeing carriers pull out of specific markets, drop certain lines that they were writing. So it does serve though as a good time to maybe reevaluate whether or not you have adequate coverage over your home. We're seeing the values are continuing to increase on homes. Rebuild cost is continuing to go up. Used car market has shifted up and down. So it's certainly a time that you might want to sit down with your insurance broker or consider a change of brokers or different insurance companies altogether.
I mean, the biggest thing this year, we've seen some bad things that happen. This general area with the fires, you just want to be protected. Is if you've had a policy they haven't checked in about 5 to 10 years, you want to make sure what your replacement costs for whether your home or your auto is up to snuff.
Especially if you haven't had any claims,
right?
Exactly. If you haven't had a claim and you have a clean record still on your home insurance specifically, I know that's typically a 5 to 7 year period of time that if you haven't had a claim, that will fall off a lot of the time. So go get that revised, take a look at it, and John's gonna jump into the next item here.
Yeah, the next thing we're going to talk about is gifting limits. So in 2023, the gifting limit that an individual could give to anybody was $17,000. So if you're a couple together, you could give $34,000 to anybody you wanted, and it wouldn't have to go report as a gift to the IRS. This now has gone up to $18,000 in 2024. So
thank you, inflation.
Thank you, inflation. So when we're talking about gifting for this next year, the limit has gone up. Whether it's kids, grandkids, there's a lot of things that from a legacy perspective, we can really start shifting around to say like, hey, we want to maximize our legacy and make sure we're giving to the ones that we love specifically, which is good. So then Ben's going to start talking about.
So you teed me up on the legacy front here. So gifting obviously certainly can be something that is utilized in leaving a legacy, it's kind of intra-life gift, inter vivos gifts, if you will. But what we're going to talk about on my particular point here is really revising or reviewing or implementing the last will and testament if you haven't done it. It's always a massive thing that you're going to want to consider, especially in Washington State. We do have a $2.2 million exemption amount. That just means that anything above $2.2 million could be taxed at Washington State estate tax rates, which I believe is 7%. Something like that. Federal, it's pretty high, but I think the exemption is $13 million per person on a federal level, right? Another thing that could be beneficial to consider is charitable giving during your lifetime, right? We might want to look at setting up donor-advised funds or different charitable trusts to get the assets out of your estate and get the growth of even a particular asset out of the estate. There's a lot of ways that doesn't necessarily always mean an outright gift where you no longer utilize the property, right? It could mean that we are considering the $18,000 gifts to a trust or to your children. Another piece of that is just having power of attorney set up. If you don't have a power of attorney set up and something were to happen to you where you were disabled and no longer able to conduct your own business, writing a check for property taxes, paying your insurance bills, these things, it becomes quite a big hassle when you have to go through the state to get a power of attorney appointed to benefit you and conduct your business.
Yeah, 100%. I think what you're saying is one thing to just really focus on is your will up to date, basically.
Is your will up to date? Do you have one?
Do you have one? Do you have it up to date? Because I think it's really important. You see it all the time where a will's not complete as what was expected upon the passing, really wasn't done at all. Yep. It's really important to make sure you either get a will or revise the will. Once you're not there, it's going to go to the state. It's going to go where it needs to go.
And life changes, right? So it's like it might have been 10 years, and the estate tax law at that point was different. Yep. So it might be time to update it. Last piece on that I want to make sure people understand is beneficiary forms. Yep. Incredibly important to have on your qualified accounts, so IRAs, 401ks, 403bs. Whoever you specify as the beneficiary on those accounts supersedes anything that is in the will.
Yeah, and it was really important from a state and federal perspective because qualified accounts are held at the federal level, and so that's why it's going to trump anything in a will or whatnot because it's a federal statute, not a state statute. And so really making sure that your beneficiaries are who you want them to be, whether it's spouses, whether it's kids, whatever it is. And life changes, life things have happened. Maybe you got married. You can go back to every year and make sure that, yes, this is where I want to go if something happens to me, because whoever's written on that part of the
beneficiary form,
beneficiary form will get the distribution of those assets.
And last
but not least, for mine,
kind of last. Sorry,
yeah, kind of last. For IRA contributions, and so for this year, 2023, the limit was $6,500 for everybody, and there was a $1,000 catch-up. So you got about $7,500 if you're over the age of 50. And in 2024, they're going to be increasing it to $7,000 a person and $8,000 for the people that are over 50 years old. So it's really good to remind you that we have this window, though, between January 1st and April 15th that you can, if you did not make your full contributions for the previous year, make sure you push them back to the last year, maximize as much as you can in 2023, get that full benefit before you can start contributing to 2024 to make sure that whether it's a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, you're getting the maximization of each year. And so we do have this window where you can kind of pick where you want to go. We always encourage you to try to push it back to maximize, unless it's already been maxed out on the previous year, that we want to go back to those previous years.
So essentially you're saying you can make a 2023 contribution in the first quarter of 2024 and have that apply.
Up to the tax deadline, basically.
The tax deadline, which does happen to be April 15th this year.
Yep. Then.
So to cap it off with a little bit more of a fun one, since we're right around the new year, we were doing a little research, and it looks like the celebration of celebrating the new year, the turn of a new year, goes back almost 4,000 years. And again, this is all Wikipedia, so take it with what you will, right? So it goes back 4,000 years. It was actually celebrated in March, and it was to celebrate the new crop that was planted in the spring. It wasn't until 1582 that Pope Gregory the 13th, and by the way, John had to help me with the Roman numerals because there was a lot of Roman numerals.
Lots of letters.
A lot of Roman numerals. Pope Gregory the 13th actually said January 1st is the new year. And one more little tidbit of information to cap us off is when Pope Gregory actually said January 1st, that is the calendar that we're on now, and it's called the Gregorian calendar, I guess.
Exactly.
Look at that, learned something new today. Thank you, Matt, the cameraman. Thank you guys for tuning in today.
Happy New Year. We wish you a blessed 2024 and look forward to serving you guys in the future.